Wow.
No fucking way.
Hello, what's up everyone? So today I'm going to be reviewing my 2021 or 2020, I'm not really sure. Either way, the spec on the bike's the exact same for both years, but my Specialized Enduro comp. And I still want to go over it. I figured it's been about 6 months since I made my first impressions video on this. And a few things have changed. So I just want to go over those and kind of explain to you, the spec on the bike, how everything's held up, the good and the bad and everything. So let's dive into it. So I do want to mention that I rode this bike quite a lot, probably about 3, 4 or 5 times a week, and it handled everything great. Nothing has broken aside from the shifter cable, and I crashed the second day on my bike and bent the rear brake lever, but I bent it back to the best of my ability. The SWAT box and the system they have up here with the multi-tool has been incredible, very helpful, especially with the derailleur coming loose quite a bit, which we'll get into. And yeah, I think just the whole, for the price, the spec isn't always the greatest, I hear people say, but I haven't had any issues with it, and the bike just rides incredibly well. So to start off with the drivetrain, where I've had the most issues, the derailleur, I could care less about how shifting feels, and yeah, I don't really care about that. I just want a derailleur to have a good clutch, and I'm not really sure what SRAM does, and the clutch on these aren't really too strong. I'm not sure if it has a clutch, but that's, it's not it's not too bad of an issue. The chain still stays on, and I think it's also part of the STFU unit. But aside from the derailleur not having the strongest clutch, it's gotten pretty loose right where the derailleur hanger and derailleur meet. Even with Loctite, it still happened, and it happens a lot. Probably sometimes every ride, sometimes 3 laps at the bike park. It's still gonna be like a quarter to a half turn loose. It's not severe, but it's still something to look out for. So aside from the drivetrain and it coming loose a little bit, which is not really a big deal for me because I care less about the drivetrain, but the shifter has come loose a few times. Like this fell out the other day. I was following my brother on his race run, and it just completely fell. I was just dangling with the cable on my spokes, so that was not too good, but we'll have to Loctite that. That's just normal stuff coming loose on the bike. So now that we've gone over like all the bad things on the bike, let's get into the good stuff. So I just want to start with the frame geometry, which is pretty much the main reason I actually bought this bike. So but when I did buy this bike, kind of a little bit before, I had a YT, and it was a great bike, but it was a little small, and the geometry, like the chainstay length and all that stuff, was a little on the small side. This is not too much longer, but it still makes a big difference, even considering I'm a little bit of a taller rider. But the frame geometry, like head tube angle and all that, is perfect for me. The bike still climbs well. Doesn't always corner the best on super tight corners, but we're talking like full on, almost like just 180-degree corners. We're fully turning around like a switchback. But aside from that, it does corner well. Comparing to the YT, I think it does handle downhill a lot better. Could be, mainly because of the suspension design here. Now, I'm not the smartest when it comes to suspension design. I don't know too much about it. But I just know that the YT was a bit more active, so that could be a pro in your eyes. I did find that on the YT, the shock I had started leaking because of how active it was. And this suspension design I've had no issues with. The lockout switch on the shock is useless for me. There's no pedal ball whatsoever. So I just want to point that out. It's a really great thing about the bike that they did. So I'm on an S4, and I think the reach on this bike is 487. So it's pretty long, but it feels quite good. Considering it also has like a longer chainstay, and the wheelbase is like I think in a 1270 around that, so it's quite good geometry. So I do want to point out that I did switch my wheels like immediately when I got the bike. I have these Santa Cruz Reserve 30 wheels on them instead of I think the Specialized Rovals that come on to it before, or that came on the bike originally. And I never got to really ride those wheels. I did hear that like the spokes tend to come loose a good amount, so I just watch out for that. So my favorite part about this bike, aside from the wheels and the frame, is the suspension. I really think the Super Deluxe shock does a great job of just handling all the terrain. And then the fork, it's been pretty good. I haven't really bombed it out too much. I did a lot in the beginning, but we added some volume spacers and messed with air pressures, and it's been a lot better. It actually has really good support. So yeah. And one last thing, the dropper has actually been worked extremely well. I think it's the X Fusion dropper. I've had it for 6 months and I've had no issues. So we'll see how it keeps going.